Great design comes with great systems.
We kept it very, very slow, crawl, stable, organic. We are basically a firm of three that became 53 in about 25 years.
The data tells and emotion sells.
How do you keep scaling up without losing the core values?
We did processes.
It's not really about the numbers, it's about the impact value of each person.
Most challenging thing to do is to take up another challenge. Each person stands for what they bring.
Find your own way, find your own workflow.
We wanted to create everyone into a full-fledged, all-round design professional.
Every single day we live by our rituals.
You don't need 100 people to do 100 crores of revenue, essentially.
It's not important for me that you're good at one thing. It's important for me that you can handle anything.
Be humble, be humane, be honest.
Mr. Abhishek Mathur of HBA to join us on stage, please. Coming up next, we have Mr. Behzad Kharas from the B&K Group, as well as Ms. Pritika Manjrekar from MoCo Design Studio, and Mr. Zubin Master from Design Matrix Interiors.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Abhishek. I'm a partner at HBA. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later, maybe. But first of all, amazing to be finally meeting after so many years. Some of friends, collaborators, industry peers. So thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. I'm not sure most of you know about HBA or what I do, but I'm going to talk about that a bit later. What I want to really focus today is the topic which is up on the screen, which is, designing our workflows as designers and how we can work smarter, deliver faster, grow stronger. Quite a mouthful, yeah? But I think the idea for us to have this discussion with all of you, with the audience in attendance, is to realize that, we all talk about great design, but I think great design comes with great systems. Great design comes with the responsibilities of scaling up a practice. How do you achieve more out of the people that you work with? How do you achieve more out of the projects? And I think with the new emphasis on using digital capabilities, new systems, how is this really affecting our practices? So let me start with you, Zubin, first. I think, Zubin, for those of you who don't know, is the founder of Design Matrix, amazing firm. I think it's now in the third decade, yeah, co-founding Design Matrix. Yeah, of course. Yeah, third decade. You might want to pick up the mic, yeah. Zubin, where do you see your practice, kind of situated in this whole discussion of designing workflows, scaling up? Let's have your thoughts first on the topic that we're discussing today.
So I'll try and elucidate as fast as I can. We are basically a firm of three that became 53 in about 25 years or so. I feel like there's multiple ways of explaining how firms should be, how one should do things, but I think the best way to say it is how I did it and what our journey was. We've been pretty much very organic in our system of growth, and we've only established a few patterns amongst ourselves and abided by those tenets right through the years. And that, I think, has paid its own sort of dividends. We basically didn't allow anyone to join our firm who was of holding any experience in the past. We only took on freshers, and we carved and chipped and etched away at them and molded them into what we wanted them to be, behave the way the work ethos demanded, have the same ethics, have the same morals, talk the same language, so to speak. Of course, you need to build in systems, but that was our foundation story, and we said that we'll take time to grow, and we felt a jump rather. Maybe a decade later, we were patient. We waited for the first few dudes to become senior level associates and team leaders. That helped us to grow downwards or rootwards and have a wider foundation rather than have a exponential vertical growth or branch out into a big firm overnight. So we kept it very, very slow, crawl, stable, organic, let's call it. But that was the design of the model design, let's say. Having said that, we also imbibed several systems into the working of the firm. We tried not to departmentalize our teams. We wanted to create everyone into a full-fledged, all-round design professional. So we encouraged our team members to always draft, always sketch, start with ideation on sketches, however ugly your sketches. If you don't bring a sketch to the meeting, you might get rejected. Your idea might
starts
go
from the
out.
top, right? From you, I suppose, right? You're very fond of sketching, I know.
I'm fond of sketching. I'm not saying I'm good at it, but I'm fond of sketching, and I always encourage that you put your thought down on with pencil and paper. So it starts from there, and then we tell the teams to go through all the motions of the project. It's not important for me that you're good at one thing. It's important for me that you can handle anything. This just allows the studio to be more weatherproof, so to speak. It could become tough sometimes, and chips are down more than often on every project. You need to have a guy who'll probably be able to handle any situation that's thrown at him, irate contractor, client, kuch bhi ho sakta hai. So we've kept those ethos going over the years, and we feel like it's worked out for us. We still have our first employee. He grew from literally nothing into a retail division team lead associate. And he's an amazing kid, and he's the inspiration of how our model worked. To see him in the office every day is amazing.
That's an incredible
I was just lucky.
human value, right? That
Awesome.
brings to the studio.
Absolutely. Apart from that, the regular practices that we've tried to keep going are bringing ownership to all stakeholders. So we actually overstaff our projects. There's always a partner, an associate, one senior staff. There's always some more help from the office, from the juniors for drafting or accounts or what have you. And that actually has given us, each of us, more time. We always figure out who's taking the lead. It's not necessary that the partner or the associate takes the lead. It could also be the staff member who takes the lead. That way we get to know who's next in line for a promotion, basically. And so that's why I call it very organic. It's an organic system, and it's structured with these basic tenets.
Clear incentives, I suppose.
Basically. And we try not to discourage free thinking. We try to make everybody come up with ideas of how to do anything better. It's not just design. And we've realized that a lot of power comes back to us from younger minds, from fresh minds. We are very, very non-digital. We are very analog as a practice. And I don't think there's any hope for us to change much. Maybe at the end of this panel, when I hear some fresh thoughts, I might be able to, give some different inputs to you. But
sure.
as of now, we are a very, very analog setup.
That's great. I think we've heard from the master. Yeah. A feeble pun. But I think, you spoke eloquently about, the human values that your studio have. And I think that is a great sort of point to discuss with Pritika. Pritika leads an amazing studio. Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that on? Yeah. Okay.
It's on, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Pritika, I believe, you've done really amazing growth in the last 15 years with the studio, MoCo studio that you founded. And there's some incredible projects that, I just discovered during our conversation pre-show. What do you think are the key practices or systems you've adopted, right, which have helped you to sort of scale up? And, not, because this is the clear sort of contrast that most people say, right? Like when you scale up, you sort of lose your core values of the studio that you start with. How do you avoid that? How do you keep scaling up without losing the core values? Can you give us a bit of an insight to...
Yeah. Well, thanks, Abhishek. And when this topic came up and we started discussing about it, I thought, let me just look back. And maybe that's going to give me some hints about how to move forward.
Yeah.
No, because
yeah, absolutely.
just about completing 20 years next year. So we started in
Well
2006, so 26 will be 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting because just finished 20 million square feet this year as well.
Fabulous.
And so while I was thinking about this, I just played this. Well, okay. So I looked at this graph, and interestingly, this has been the journey from 2006 to 2025, and it's amazing.
I think it's going out of the...
Yeah, we're hitting it out
It's
the
going to
bottom.
come at us.
And it's been exciting, and I'll tell you, from 2006 to 2016, 17, there was no time to think. No, nothing, no mission, North Star, values, nothing. We were just at it, at building the skill, because we were very lucky. One after the other projects were coming that were huge, and I didn't know how to handle it, and so we just were at it, And then when came 2016, that's when I kind of took a pause, 10 years later, and I said, okay, what are we doing here? Where are we going next? And I had very audacious goals at that time. We had about 40 people in the firm because we'd done really well and we were on the top of the world. And then we said, okay, it's going to go 40 to 400. We're going to open offices in the country and, all of those big audacious goals. But as always, life has very different plans. This was right around when COVID happened. Right? And I'm going to show you something that I could have never planned. And I'm a planner. So in 2016, we did processes. We actually became an ISO. Of course, the Revit came in at that time. BIM came in. Digitalization happened. So we were on top of the world with both technology as well as processes. But then something that I had never planned on happened, which is after 2020, as we became so process-oriented, and that's when we really defined what core values at MoCo are. And I started every single day living by these core values and aligning each and every person in the organization to the core values. And without design, by default, the 40 I don't know whether we shrunk or expanded, because the 25 people that stayed back are like 250 for me, literally. And this has happened. I feel it's just kind of this human expansion that has happened. And I don't know, sometimes, we think what has happened, and then sometimes, of course, it's an entrepreneur's dream. Any entrepreneur is going to say, your bottom line is going to look great with this. And so I said, okay, let me look at Prachi's journey. She's been with me for 17 years out of this. And the green is her journey. So interestingly, her growth is mimicking.
I want that on a t-shirt. I'm going to wear that. That's amazing.
I love putting this together. And I said, maybe the yellow going down has helped Prachi as well. Because see, she's expanded, right? And that's helped. And so I said, okay, what's really helped us? And I really think, as you know, sometimes we feel something complex, something complicated helps you get to where you want to get. But no, sometimes something very simplex. Just your values, just conversations, just communications. Just every single day, we live by our rituals. No matter what, the morning 9 a.m. call will happen like the sun rises. And in that call, aligning each and every person to the goals of the day will happen. And just that one ritual has gotten us here. Something small, you know?
That is fantastic. That is really well done, Pritika. I mean, I got to say that that graph, you mentioned that you took a pause. That graph did not show any pauses to me. I couldn't look at, I mean, where was COVID? You know?
COVID did really well. And in fact, these rituals came up in COVID.
Fantastic. But you know, it seems to me that you've really been able to harness the best out of your people, build a culture. You know, there's almost like a value system that you've created which helps optimize the best out of the people. And it's not really about the numbers. It's about, you know, what each person, you know, the impact value of each person in this process of expansion. So
And if I can add, each person is not a number. Like
Right.
it's not just a seat. If there's Tushar or there's Prachi or there's Jagna, nobody can replace what they do.
Right.
So each person stands for what they bring. So then it's 1 equals 11 or 100.
Right, right. So it's like maximizing potential of every person and not just a number.
Investment
Amazing.
in the human.
Amazing. That's fantastic. Now that posits a real challenge for our next speaker, Behzad. Yeah? Behzad, I'm not going to ask you to name every person of your team, but like given the scale that you're expanding at, you're running multiple hats, you know, you're amazingly heading a amazingly successful design and build firm. You're expanding now overseas. I know like you have a lot of passion for systems, digital tools, digital transformation. So, you know, explain to us like your perspective on this whole idea of how to scale up a practice, how to sort of grow as a practice, again, while maintaining core values. But, you know, what Pritika said about having the ethos being intact as you grow, how do you manage that through technology?
Before I start explaining the slides that I've prepared, I just want to put a little context to what I'm going to say, especially for the audience, because you know when people perceive us on Instagram, they think that it's some hail glory story, right? It's picture perfect and it's painted so beautifully, but it's actually not. I came to Bombay in 2007 with 20,000 rupees, right? Started from a small office, moved to a chawl, from a chawl then to another place, and then wherever we are today. But, you know, the whole business or the whole gamut of my earlier practice was focused on one person's ability, that is mine. So I used to design, I used to select, I used to go on site, I used to make the BOQ, I was all over the place. And we grew. Financially, we grew. But did we grow intellectually? No. Because when you start making money, right, you start believing that whatever you're doing is the right way and there's no other way to it, right? And that, when I reached almost, let's say, 6-digit figures pre-COVID, I tanked in COVID to a point where I was almost bankrupt. And I say this, and I don't fear saying this. And I started becoming self-critical. I think that is where it all starts, is when you start asking yourself questions of why is this happening to me? Then I realized there were the two things. Is that the business was too centric towards me. I'm too focused on one sector and segment of the business, right? And that's where I started believing in two things. Investing in people, right? And implementing process. 2022, 32 people. 2025, 132 designers, project managers, supervisors.
Come on, round of applause, guys. Come on.
From bankruptcy
Fantastic.
From bankruptcy, with God's grace, today we're doing our order book has already crossed 10 digits.
Right.
Right? How did that happen in the span of 3 years? Right? Again, putting into perspective, like Zubin, my first employee still works with me. My core team has been with me, like Pritika, since the last 14, 15 years. Today, I don't sign a single check, not a single OTP. My phone does not ring, right? I call myself as the chief troubleshooter of the company. So people have a dashboard of, let's say, stocks. I have a dashboard of WhatsApp messages. So I basically try to troubleshoot 170 WhatsApp groups. But just to give you an idea, what my dashboard today looks like is something like this. So I'm just going to, so this is a dashboard of what I see every day. The dashboard of business data analytics. So not everybody actually understands how business data analytics actually works. So we have a digitized business development and CRM system. So we kind of understand which projects, because we have an office in Dubai, we acquired a company from Singapore, they sit in the Dubai office. What we do is we collate information from different platforms, understand where the lead generation is coming, what kinds of projects are coming in. My contracts team, basically, I don't negotiate, I don't go for any contractual meetings. I have a chief contracts officer who basically does all this for me. Whether the contractual, I don't even sign contracts. My executive director signs the contracts. So all of this is now being delegated. I basically analyze how much of my business is architecture, interiors, out of that how much is hospitality, residential, healthcare, and workspace. What is the revenue generation model? How much is, then that gets converted to my finance team.
What is it, Behzad? Tell us.
So, and then we have a financial MIS, so where my CFO and my senior accounts team, we basically sit, see what is being built out of this order booking and what is going to carry forward to the next year and how much more work we should pump in. From there, we actually have a human resource chart, which I have not put up here, essentially, where we kind of understand how much human resource needs to be engaged, deployed, or can be re-engaged. So which projects need to move out of the system fast, and how much can we re-engage the same resources. Exactly to Pritika's point, you don't need 100 people to do 100 crores of revenue, essentially, right? So being a bit more efficient, and that only can happen when data tells, right? And there's this great line that data tells and emotion sells, right? And I truly believe that. Just going back, so I'm not even pressing it. I don't know why it keeps jumping, but anyways, just a design process. Pre-construction, because we're a predominantly design and build company, so we have questionnaires, formats being set for different kinds of project typologies. From there, obviously, we have a 5-stage design process, which is basically look and feel. Then we get into layouts. Layouts, look and feel, renders, materials, schematic, detailed drawings. And we have our in-house QS team, we have an in-house MEP team, we have an in-house billing team, etc. So it basically goes through different departments. Like earlier, we used to have very similar kind of a mindset where you have one person who's an all-rounder. Now we've kind of departmentalized everything. Human resource, we're in the business of human resource because I always believe the quality of human resource that we engage is equal to the quality of output that is going to come out, and that is the quality of revenue, end of the day, right? So human resource is the crux of our business. So, what are the human resource processes that we're putting in? How are we bringing in people? Are we filtering down the people? So we have psychometric questions, analysis that happen. Then we have design tests, we have drafting tests, we have BOQ tests, right? Then signing up of contracts, what is included. We have an employee handbook which has been curated by me. So I basically learn a lot from my clients, essentially, when I'm working with corporates, build that into my own company. Today, I don't look into designs in the last 4 or 5 years so much actively, except every Tuesday. So we have a chief design officer who interacts with all the design directors, which earlier used to be interacting with me. So we built in a layer and a process there as well. Then on a project side, because that's where everything goes haywire, and a communication side. So we have 5 communication channels, essentially one with the client, one internally between all the different departments, one which is procurement and billing, one which is site related. So I basically monitor these communication channels because communication gap is where the major troubleshooting needs to happen, right? Every process, every line item on the BOQ is tracked to people, to delays. Every Tuesday it is reviewed, like every morning, and sometimes twice in a day, because we have morning shifts and night shifts. So 5 o'clock in the morning is when I get my morning DPRs. Evening is when I get the evening DPRs. Every morning I track labor count, so I need to know why there is a labor issue or not an issue, because I have to build fast, right? And if I build fast, then I'll be able to build fast, right? So we kind of have understood all of these pain points.
So
Today,
somebody in your company has built this app for you, or this
so
app?
so today our human resource management system is also digitized. So we use Zoho People, for example. So for example, because we're in the build business, site supervisor site pe hai ki nahi hai, or ya niche jacket, ya is he moonlighting, you know, right? Because it's very difficult to understand whether they actually are. Because many clients used to complain to us, yaar, aapka site supervisor site pe hai hi nahi, right? So all our sites, our offices are geo-fenced,
Right.
time to time. Every 30 minutes, there's an update on the system of where and their locations are tracked. So as soon as they log in from site, that is when, till they log out, their locations are tracked by the system, right? Their leaves have a dashboard, right? Because I say that, we're transiting from a Lala company to a corporate company. So obviously there's a lot of legal compliances that also need to be done, right? So they have their own dashboards. Nobody has to come to me to ask for a leave. Their leave application goes digital. It is approved digital and gets detected from their leave dashboard.
So you've really built systems through technology for HR,
Correct. So
for
now,
design, for BD.
See, what we've done in the last 2 years and understanding, all our points of pain and failure, we realized that there's not a single universal application that can take care of my entire enterprise. So what we've done now is we're investing in an application ourselves, which covers this entire cycle of a design base, so right from design management, project management, to procurement management, to contract management, to, let's say, reverse auctioning for our subcontractors and suppliers, to HRMS, to digitization of the entire process, right? And MIS financials, how much money and how much money needs to be distributed, etc. Forecasting how much money am I going to need next month, right? Or for the next 6 months, and how much do I need to recover, right? So we kind of streamlined even basic simple things, like because we are very compliant in terms of when you're doing build, every labor has to have a health checkup, right? Now, every morning, my supervisor will go and ask, tu kiska aadmi hai, tu kiska aadmi hai, tu kiska aadmi hai, and then makes a labor report. All our laborers will have digitized digital labor cards. Their health checkup is updated, their blood group is updated, because safety is a major, we have safety officers in-house.
Behzad, you're really becoming like a client here. I feel like we need to have a different conversation with you. Yeah?
Not really. I mean, what we've done is, even our communication channels, because you're on WhatsApp, so, we have 20,000 Faltu groups. So when I'm writing a serious message, then somebody's sending me a joke, and it becomes so irritating, and then you lose track of the communication that needs to be done. So now we've introduced AI to a level where, like right now, I've given them a task that identify from all my 170 groups, where am I supposed to troubleshoot and what is priority 1, 2, 3 that I have to attend, right? Because I have Telegram, I have WhatsApp, I have email. So there's too much of communication that I have to oversee, right? So AI will filter that out for us. Secondly, what we've also done is, simple mistakes, and I don't know if you guys have ever perceived it, but a drawing gets updated, and we're in the process of build. So he's building as per the old design, and the client has already changed the design. And then the client comes and shouts at me saying that, "Arey boss, there's no coordination in your team, because they're building it out as per the old design." So at my cost, I have to redo the entire process.
Correct.
So in our new system, any updation, not only does it get notified, but also gets auto-deleted. All the drawings will have a QR code. So every morning, even the carpenter can scan the QR code and see whether there's an updated drawing. Today, even my subcontractors, nobody is using files. They're actually opening drawings from cloud and saying, "Sir, ye idhar hai, ye udhar hai," So we kind of realized what is our pain points across the entire gamut of this business of design, and trying to imbibe technology as far as possible to kind of streamline our processes so
that's the key
scalability
takeaway,
becomes much more faster.
Amazing, amazing. I think your integration of technology seems like amazingly at a different level than most practices that we generally come across. That's amazing.
While I'm still operating at this level and understanding HBA with 1,500 employees and 25, 35 global locations, I think the audience also needs to know, how does a global company like yours, right, adapt?
Hi, thank you, Behzad. I think, yeah. Okay, fantastic.
Even it would be great for me to understand that how does a global company with multiple offices work?
There we go. All right, for people, apart from Behzad, who really knows what HBA is about, and Zubin and Pritika. Okay, so I got to tell you about HBA a little bit, just to put this in context and about the systems that Behzad was talking about. HBA stands for Hirsch Bedner Associates. How do I go to the next one? This one? HBA is actually 60 years old. I'm not that old. I've been with HBA for about close to a decade and a half. I'm one of the partners at HBA, but it's amazing to be part of this legacy firm, right? Howard Hirsch and Michael Bedner 60 years ago started with the Beverly Hill Hotel, and we've been expanding as the business took us to different continents and cities. We've continued to expand on our hospitality design legacy. That's what people know us best for designing hotels. And the challenge for us has been how to scale that through decades, right? And not lose the core values. So I think the evolution has really brought us to the current stage where we are not just known for doing interiors, but we've expanded our creative services to interiors, architecture, art, digital, F&B. I'm out of breath, but you can see it on the board, right? And what this means is that we offer like total integrated solutions for most of our clients, right? Who want to have like a one-stop shop. But we kind of limit it to our creative consultancy services. We are not yet into sort of making it like a design and build. But, so, our focus on integrated services is, unlike you, just purely on pure consultancy basis. But some of these slides are also showing the beautiful properties that our teams have worked on, like the Four Seasons Kyoto, Japan, etc. You'll see that. Wow, the map is really thin, but this shows all the 25 offices where they're located that Behzad was talking about. But you can really see, like, in the last 2 decades, our business has really expanded in Asia-Pac. That is where most of our offices are. I look after the studios in Bombay and Delhi. And, together with 1,500 professionals who are part of our, whole practice, we continue to sort of strive towards eking out quality in every discipline that we are undertaking. And it's hard because people expect a certain standard from HBA because of our legacy. And that's the challenge that we need to take up. Again, just to set some context, right? We are one of the most awarded firms. We've done a lot of work in hospitality space, so there are a lot of Gold Key Awards, Hospitality Design Awards, etc. But some of these slides are really showing like the kind of work that we do, right? And I just wanted to put that out there a little bit for the people to know. Now, coming back to your question, Behzad, about how do we sort of work with technology, how do we create adjacencies? So for us, I think the cue is when you have presence in 25 offices and when you have 1,500 individuals working together, we try to actually take lessons from all scale of practices because we have seen it through experience, right? We were at 1.50, we were at 1.15 also. And every time we open a new office, it's got its own P&L and, we start again. So we are very scrappy also in, terms of managing our P&Ls. But at the same time, as an enterprise, we're trying to optimize the enterprise value of our entity as HBA. Very often we collaborate between offices. Very often we collaborate with different collaborators, like Zubin, for example. We've worked together in the past where we felt like Zubin brings something to the table and Design Matrix brought something to the table that we couldn't. So it's really important for us to find out what's the best fit in the interest of the project and ownership, and we never shy away from being very self-critical, evaluate. We are also really process-oriented. So what you're doing right now, Behzad, is something that we also do. We actually made our own proprietary LLMs, right, for getting into looking at our P&Ls. We are looking at our business development reports. We have a whole process which has been evolved over time. So, and it continues to get evolved, right? But ultimately, it's about design. We're trying to capture emotion through design, and that's like really what we are striving for. So it does encompass, you know, those human values, the interdependency between different offices, bringing people together, not just in terms of our offices, but also outside of it. So it's just like sort of zooming out the conversation a bit more and looking at its scale. But the ethos remains the same of finding out optimization through collaboration with human values. I think that's what it is. But, you know, before I get too maudlin about HBA and, you know, proselytizing about our virtues, you know, I do want to talk about what Zubin mentioned earlier. Zubin, after today's, you know, this round of discussion, do you feel, or were you serious when you said, like, is there something that you can take away from the kind of practices that are on stage, maybe to, you know, put in something of your own? What do you think you want to take?
No, I don't think it's easy.
Quick answers, please, yeah? I think...
our time is up long ago.
Yeah.
I don't think I can take away anything and bring it into my practice for sure. We are too set in our ways. We are too set in our ways. What we're planning to do now after this conversation is we're going to hire Behzad Kharas as our CEO. And because he's not signing checks, he's only designing on Tuesdays. Yeah. He's not looking at any other systems except, you know, on his dashboard. He can use his dashboard in my office. So I'll just leave it to the professional.
I agree with you.
He's the builder.
Great one, yeah. Fantastic, fantastic.
Yay for Behzad.
Pritika, what about you? You want to take some of that technological aspects, you know, the process-oriented approach that Behzad talked about. How do you feel your firm is going to evolve? Because that graph is off the charts, right?
I'm
that graph going at us in 3D now? Like, how do you...
No, I'll take house. This was fantastic. It's extremely inspiring. You know, when I see different journeys, what I take away is everyone has their own journey and everyone's figuring it out their own way. And for me, I have to stay true to my path. And what's evolving for me is really interesting, if I may dare to say so, is I'm getting out of the hustle. And the last few years has been about that. So, you know, when I showed you that chart, what I did not say is we've fully gotten out of the hustle. So we're not hustling anymore. There's a lot of freedom. So each person, I really guard our 5 days a week. I really guard the 40 hours. I really guard the quality of life. And that's hard. I was just talking to someone outside that when you're in a challenge kind of a space, you know, chaos has become your normal. You feel that the most challenging thing to do is to take up another challenge. Actually, the most challenging thing to do is to not take up a challenge, to actually do it with ease. And that's next for me, is to do that same graph, but with a lot more ease.
That's fantastic. Well said, well said. Okay. Behzad? No, don't pick up the mic. You know. Okay, maybe, pick it up, okay. But very short, okay? For a young firm, right? For people who you might want to, you know, who you feel can take away the initial part of the story that you meant. You were a young practice once, right? Not too long ago. You were sort of small scale. A lot of people in the audience might sort of align to that feeling, right? They might relate to it. One piece of advice which you think can sort of bring them the same kind of success that you've seen in your own. Quick one.
First and foremost, 3 core values. Be humble, be humane, and be honest. Don't take your success or wealth for granted, or even your health for granted. And most importantly, at the right time, invest in people. Don't look at salary as a cost. Look at it as investment. And start building your own processes. You don't need any consulting group. Nobody consulted me. I just understood my problems and tried to solve those problems. And the answers to our problems lie within us. And everyone's problem is different. Everybody's journey is different. Not everybody wants to be an HBA, not everybody wants to be a BNK. Some people want to be like Zubin, and some people want to be like person X or person Y, right? So I always believe that there is not one solution that fits all, right? It is your inner calling where it takes you, and that should be your journey. But I think these three core principles, I would say more than people and process, if you have these three cores of being humble, human, and honest, right? And that is where we bank our personal company philosophy on, and my personal philosophy on, is if these three cores are unshakable, right, everything else will fall in place.
Well said, Behzad. That's fantastic. You know, I don't think there's anything to add over there. I think we are all sort of quite aligned to what you just said. I'm just going to stop the session over here. I know like we can go on for another 30 minutes, but thank you so much, guys. I think it's been amazing. I think the key takeaway is like, you know, find your own way, find your own workflow, and, you know, if you want to talk to any of us with anything that you align with, we are going to be around for a bit. So thank you so much for listening in. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, FOAID.